Welcome back to What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. I'm Nick.
I'm Devin.
Oh, and I'm Vinny.
Welcome.
Hey, Vinny.
Welcome. This is our fourth guest episode. I just clapped right into the mic. I'm so sorry to everyone's ears. But very exciting. This continues our Pride Month episodes. But Vinny is here to tell us some things. But before that, tell us about yourself. Tell us how you know us, what you do, what do you enjoy? Give us a whole profile.
That is a lot to work with. My name is Vinny. I'm from New York, but I live here in Chicago.
Yeah.
I work in the tech field doing things like webinars and podcasts, but I've never been a guest.
Never been on this side of the mic.
Nerve-wracking. It's fun because I've known you for 8-ish years, maybe. That math seems right.
2015?
Yeah, because I was in college and we worked at the same pizza place.
We're going to be, this will be 9 years. Yeah.
Almost our 10-year anniversary.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, and then I was able to meet you through him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I can kind of just like kick him to the curb. I've met everyone I need to meet. I feel good.
That's really rude.
Well, your husband was first, but...
A 10-year stint and then you're done. We get it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I know that we've been kind of going back and forth about like, what's the topic? What should we do? All those things. But today's going to be fun. We can dive right kind of into it.
Yeah.
As you will.
Okay. Well, since it is Pride, I want to focus on Pride-related topics. And I want a nice balance. Like I said, I want it to be fun, but also educational, because I think right now it's super important to emphasize the experience of a gay man, specifically a gay man, because, hello, gay man. And I can speak a little more towards that, but it's just important to share the history as to why our community may be the way we are, how we've experienced things, and then also just get a little more insight into specifically the evolution of gay dating.
Oh, heck yeah. That sounds great.
However, I would like to put a disclaimer out so I don't get canceled. Most of this information came from Reddit blogs or history articles that I did not write or contribute to, so it can be a lie. Nobody will know.
I also feel like, though, a lot of our culture hasn't been recorded in a lot of ways, so it is kind of like oral tradition, right? Like a lot of it is just like passed down from one person to another. Like I think that like, gay dating, like signs, signals, things like that, like we talked about like in JC Linebecker, like people have like these coded messages, and that's not something that we like wrote down somewhere, you know what I mean?
Right. And that's some of what we'll cover, but to your point, a lot of this wasn't written down, and the only time it was in news articles for people getting arrested, assaulted. It was also just so much darker when we did hear about it. Whereas now in modern times, it's much more common and acceptable to date, to have a sex life, to participate in certain things. So what we do have from like the 1400s is a news article. Well, maybe not even an article, just like a police report.
Right.
On like a feather quill. I don't know.
Right. And how much of that police report is accurate? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, I mean, so that'll be interesting. A lot of it is, to your point, like, yes, it might be false, but also it just might be oral tradition. So it's kind of a game of telephone.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So let's start discussing this. Cool. Just going to lay it out there now. Some of these topics are going to be cruising, gay cruising, bathhouses, demon twinks, and Grindr.
Demons.
I have so much to learn.
You do. And there will be a vocabulary quiz because I did bring virtual flashcards.
Okay. All right.
So just brace yourself.
Right. I also like that. I feel like we should put a disclaimer, like, for the audience as they're watching beforehand, like trigger warning for
yes,
especially demon twink, like anyone who's encountered that.
I mean, as a former demon twink, I feel this will speak to a lot of people.
Were you ever a twink?
Maybe like 30 pounds ago. I don't know if we're also going to discuss that a little bit, but I don't know that I would consider myself a twink, but I was very tiny.
You were tiny.
Whereas now I've become a little bit beefier boy. So to get things really started, I have a vocabulary word I would like you to answer the question for. What is sodomy?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't raise my hand, but okay.
You got this.
Sodomy. I don't remember if it's forcibly or not, but I believe...
Feels violent.
Biblically, you know.
Exactly.
I believe the act of sodomy is, isn't it in biblical terms, like shoving a red hot poker up your ass.
that
actually
didn't
know
come
that.
up in my research. Maybe I should be Googling different keywords.
But I think beyond that, in more modern terms, isn't it? I think I'm most likely wrong. Forcibly putting something up one's asshole.
I think it's just anal sex, right?
Is it just anal sex?
I think it's a nice blend, I would say.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I feel
red
like
hot poker, red hot poker, right.
an object is an object too.
Right.
I think it probably evolved. So you're not wrong.
Right.
Also, I don't know for sure if you're right.
I had never heard of that before.
No?
No. Like, I could see some of the, the aggressiveness, the
think it's Old
forcibility of that.
Testament,
Old Testament talks about the poker.
Yeah. The better one.
Yeah, the vengeful God. Yeah.
Right.
He's like, this or this. Yeah.
Now I'm uncomfy.
Yay.
Sorry.
Let's take a turn. So not on the wrong track. The definition I have is that it's originally crimes against nature in contemporary laws, oral and anal intercourse.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oral as well.
Yes. So things going in
Interesting.
certain crevices against nature. So specifically targeting most likely gay men.
Right.
Now, the oral part's interesting. So, like, oral sex in general, or like between men? Or...
So I think it does fall within the crimes against nature. So being gay, because anything else was technically you can procreate, but at the same time, sex was just weighted differently, especially if you were straight. I mean, you had things like brothels and the town hooker, like you know what I mean?
Right.
You had these things, but it was more acceptable, I would guess,
Yeah.
unless you were religious. But when you're gay, that's also just a crime against nature. So at the same time, it's just much worse.
Right, because
Sure.
like from a religious standpoint, the point of sex is only for creating new life, and so like that's why you're only doing missionary like once every like month, and that's
yes.
it.
Yes.
And like anything beyond, right?
Well, you know what? Gay men really challenged that.
Right.
Good
They
idea.
said,
Right.
we can do it more.
What do we think came first, fellatio or cunnilingus? That refers to sodomy.
Oh.
Like, would the act, like, would lesbianism, right, truly, she's gonna be like, I don't know. Like, do we think lesbianism falls within sodomy if oral sex is involved in that?
Because like you can go back to the ancient Greeks for both cases.
Yeah.
Because like the running, I don't want to say joke, but like the running joke is like, oh, every ancient Greek was gay. But like,
Preach.
there's also the tale of Sapphic and the island of Lesbos, which is the reason why we have the term lesbian, is because Sapphic there are these letters written to her female lover, and everyone was like, oh, they were just friends, kind of thing. But there's like, no, she was a woman-loving woman from the Isle of Lesbos, which is why we have lesbian.
Yeah.
And so I think you would just have to go to time travel to ancient Greece and be like, all right, who's going down on who?
I need to take a moment to say thank you for representing lesbians, because I've only focused on gay men, but you have an entirely different perspective to share.
I'm here for everybody.
So I think this is going to be really good.
This is fair. It's a really nice balance that we have going here. All right, please continue.
Okay, so let's start with bathhouses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick, I feel like you're kind of familiar with the bathhouses.
That's right.
Yeah,
Devin,
Nick.
do you know what a bathhouse is?
Oh, shit.
The tables have turned.
I'm actually just going to be targeting you most of the
In what century?
Take your pick.
Okay, well, because there were like back to the ancient Greeks and Romans. Those were those bathhouses, Turkish bathhouses, where like it was a communal place to like actually wash yourself, get the town gossip and stuff like that. But in today's terms, I don't fucking know.
There's a lot of things occurring.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of the earliest recordings of a bathhouse. To your point,
Cool.
It was community bath. Let's wash up. But they were fixated and focused, I should say, on men. So you had all of these men in one vicinity with towels and or naked, just kind of hanging out. Bros being bros.
No pun intended.
But what you started to see was these men participating in gay acts, whether it was because they were gay or they were curious, or I'm trying to think of a cleaner way to say it. Parts are parts.
Sure. The stigma wasn't there as well.
Right. Likely it wasn't. I feel like the stigma just started to develop as you went on, especially in more Western culture. Because as you'll see, a lot of this, it didn't seem as bad. But one of the first recordings was in 1492. So a quick message to all of the people that were like, back in my day, you didn't have all these gays. I don't know why they're country, but
Well,
we did. We did. It's just now you have like social media, so you see it or you just weren't aware. But this has been going down to 1492.
Yeah.
So Florence, Italy. Picture this. Bathhouses were utilized again for social networking, dating, getting to know other men. You didn't have outlets to date. Think about now, or honestly, any time. You would have a suitor. Men would be aligned with women. Families would say, you're going to date my daughter. All of that. Right. Men seeking men did not have that. So in 1492, this is when it started to become dangerous for men to be in these bathhouses and also participate in gay activities. There was something called the Eight of Watch in Florence, Italy, and that was the leading criminal court. They issued several decrees associated with sodomy, so our anal sex. 44 men were convicted of having homosexual relationships not involving violence or aggravating circumstances. So you're immediately seeing in these initial reportings that men are being criminalized for just enjoying each other's company in a space that they're allowed to do that, but they're now being hunted down, and nothing was violent, aggressive, or anything of that nature. And you see that continue to carry through history. So then you go ahead to Paris, France. Picture yourself there, beautiful. 1876.
Overrated.
So, is it though?
Yes,
it is. But in 1876, you had another situation, and these are kind of like the benchmark raids.
Sure.
1876, police raided a public bathhouse called, I'm going to butcher this, the Bains-des Gymnasie.
That was better than any French Nick has ever done on the show. So
But he'll pretend that he's right. It's proven otherwise.
1,000%.
Look, in my notes, I even said, I don't know how to pronounce this. I probably should have just looked it up. However, 6 people, boys, men. I mean, back then, I feel like men were like 16 years old. Your life expectancy was like...
You're lucky if you make it to 36.
Right. Same. But they were found to be engaging in offensive and against humanity, public indecency. All 6 were prosecuted.
Oh, wow.
So again, you're seeing a great amount of men just participating in something being prosecuted for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Then it starts to get worse. You have... In 1903, in New York, the New York police conducted the first recorded raid on a gay bathhouse, the Artisan Hotel Baths, with 26 men arrested, 12 brought to trial on sodomy charges, and 7 went to prison.
Wow.
It is just, to me, it is wild to think about the difference between now, where men can be openly gay and have intercourse with men, date men, and then you look back then, there was still stigma, but it was just illegal.
Yeah.
Right.
How were men supposed to find men? If we know that this was happening 400 years ago and more, how is that okay?
Right. Well, and it's interesting because I think, you look at, I think there's a lot of conversation about like Greek and Roman times about how, especially with the Greeks, you had like an older gentleman and a younger man, and like there was that kind of partnership, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of sex involved in that. And then that kind of continues to like revel, and there's gay partnerships, and there's no word for homosexuality, right? But then what happens is Christianity comes in, and Augustus, I think it's Constantine, takes on Christianity and turns the Roman kind of republic into Christianity. And so there's so many more laws and persecution and all of these things that happen. And that kind of, because there was such a stronghold on so much of Europe from the Roman Empire that is now being shifted to Christianity, now all of these kind of mindsets and conservative viewpoints and all of these things shift everything, right? Mm-hmm. So then we have 1472, and we have, into the 1800s, the 1900s, and I'm sure there are spouts about, I know this is kind of more geared towards bathhouses, but I think that just kind of shows where the mindset kind of shifts and goes along the way, right? And that we deem it criminal versus just we look down on it. Now we're like, no, we're going to build laws against it, which is a whole new level of mentality.
It's tough to hear and read about and know that we're still not in a perfect state, but knowing back then it was even harsher. Right. It was even more dangerous. People were hanged, sent to prison, sent for life. It was rough.
Yeah.
But then, to your point, you were just like, I don't know what happens to bathhouses now. It is a much different game.
Right.
It's
hopefully
not
for the better.
I mean, it really depends on who you ask. Bathhouses. Right. I mean, I don't know personally what a bathhouse is like, but there's more going on. But I think what I'm trying to get at with the history of bathhouses specifically is you're trying to find and understand how gay men met throughout history.
Yeah.
And how did they start dating? How did they find love, find friendship? It continued to transform. These venues just continued to pop up and become a safe space for gay men. Everyone was welcome. I would assume you wanted to be gay if you were going to be there, but some people just want friendship.
Right.
And you saw this continue on. I think, well, I was going to share a fun fact, but also can we just discuss what a bathhouse was probably like back then? Like, I know you're going there to bathe, but 1, how often? 2, do the hot tubs have chlorine? 3, did people have razors? Deodorant? Like, I'm
going to say no to all of that.
Like, it just...
Until, like, 2002, probably not.
Like, I don't want to, like, gloss over that and forget to ask, like...
Right.
Yeah.
The important questions.
Yes.
That's why you're here.
When did chlorine start being put into hot tubs? When did hot tubs become hot tubs?
I don't know.
Well, okay, so you always have like saunas coming from, like I fucking know the history of baths. So
here he goes. Don't get him on this topic, folks.
This was my hyper focus of the week.
Yeah.
Like you have like saunas coming from the like Scandinavian area, and like those were just like steam baths and whatnot, or steam houses. So like that was sanitary. But I think with like the ancient Romans, like they had such great advancements in plumbing for their age, that through aqueducts and whatnot, that like they were able to get rid of any type of wastewater very easily. And like for some reason in the medieval ages, they were like, nah, fuck that, we're gonna be dirty and live in shit. Yeah. But like the ancient Romans were like, no, get this stuff away. Like we want to be clean. Yeah, it is. So like I think those bathhouses were like primo. But then later they just got worse and worse until chlorine was invented. Yeah. I don't know when.
And now they're
not invented, discovered for pools. It's always been around. It's an element.
Yeah. It is an element.
It is an element. It's on the periodic table,
Isn't that
baby.
kind of weird to think that like chlorine is an element?
Not for me.
Okay, we get it. You're so science focused.
Sorry.
But I feel like chlorine that like is a natural. Like, I don't know where I would encounter chlorine, like, in the world that now that we've taken that as a cleanser for pools. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I was also trying to think of, like, where I could find chlorine naturally.
Oh, how interesting. All of a sudden.
Sorry.
I'm just going to let you guys do this. This is fun. Forget my shit. I'm done.
Okay, bathhouses.
Bathhouses. Okay. Yes. So then here's a fun fact before we move on to the next topic.
Yeah,
it
love
continues.
Fun facts.
You know, she's really small, not that famous. Bette Midler. Have you heard of her?
A few times.
I don't know that I would call her small. However.
In what sense, Nick?
In her popularity and fame.
I mean,
wow.
Debatable.
Wow.
I'm just saying. Well, Bette was actually known as the Divine Miss M because she got her start. Well, not necessarily her start, but she was performing in a bathhouse in New York City in the early 70s.
What? Really?
Oh.
And who do you think was playing the piano accompanying her?
Who?
Barry Manilow.
Okay, but also I will say, like, thinking of I think I have 2 frames of reference for a bathhouse, right? Or 3. I think one is like ancient times.
Yeah.
I think one is like Turkish bath, right? Sure. And then one is like
gay
steamworks, right? I'm just imagining like Bette Midler and Barry Manilow performing at Steamworks, and I'm just like, how does that work? Also, is like anyone fixated on that? Like,
well,
what?
Yeah, I want this story.
I've seen it in like there's like TV shows and stuff where you'll see the recreation of it, and there's it might have been like an American Horror Story, I don't remember, but there was a performer in a bathhouse probably replicating what Bet did. And it was, again, because the idea of a bathhouse was to be a community center for men.
Sure.
So again, you may not be gay, but you're there because it's like a men's locker room. It is
guys'
what it
night.
is.
Yeah.
I was in
Yes.
definitely guys' night. I was in Portugal, and I was talking to somebody at a bar who worked at the bathhouse that was like nearby, and he was saying how it really was just there, a community center where men, most likely potentially curious, would go, but they would come after the workday. They were working men, straight men. They were just going to be part of the environment, and that was important. So when you think about bathhouses, especially in like the 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it was a space for community, especially right before the AIDS epidemic. Because that was the sense of community. And then after that, bathhouses got shut down, but that network just kept going. So bathhouses were also becoming a space for sex education resources. So you saw the power there. So even when they were shut down, there was still an impact. But yeah, so Bet was performing there. And
It's hysterical.
So again, haven't been to a bathhouse, but they have bars in them. There's like hot tubs. Some of them have bars, maybe not the ones here, but like internationally, there's a bar. Like you can hang out.
Like a swim-up bar at a resort?
Kind of, but maybe
That's
not.
all I'm picturing.
Maybe. You know what? We'll do a site visit next time.
Yeah,
follow up, and we'll just really answer all these questions.
Some Patreon content will be the three of us going to a bathhouse.
I just got a new swimsuit. It's going to be great.
Perfect.
All right, so
it has like sea creatures on it. You're like,
There's
"You like my
dinosaurs on it."
bathhouse? Yeah. There it is.
I mean, I hate
There
to break it
is.
to you, but you likely have to just wear a towel.
Yeah,
Right.
And it might not be a very big towel. Again, I've just heard.
They're like, here it is.
It's just a face cloth.
It's just, no, it's a napkin they stole from like, McDonald's.
Instantly disintegrates.
Right.
That would probably be effective.
One per visit. Yeah.
So, now we just know so much about bathhouses, let's go to cruising
Cool.
and cottaging.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, let's start with this. Vocabulary quiz.
Perfect.
What is cruising? And yes, I do have a definition I would like you to get completely correct.
Okay. Definition of cruising. Not in the taking a late night drive sense. Oh, wait. Actually, that's connected to it. You go... this might be a weird example because this is what happened in my hometown.
Oh.
You would...
Where did you grow up?
Next to the
By
town
me.
of Nick's.
Yeah.
So Nick was... Okay, I got it.
I was influencing the scene. Yeah.
Wouldn't like you drive to like meet up somewhere? And this is what happened in my hometown. Maybe this fits in the definition. But like you would go, there was one specific forest preserve parking lot that you would go to, and like there'd be like someone hanging out in the bushes and be like, "Hey, you want to have some fun?" And like that's what you would do.
That was slightly terrifying.
The only image that I'm getting is like two teenagers or like very like 1950s like pull up and like let's like
it's like an 80s slasher
canoodle,
film.
right?
Yeah,
and then
that's
someone's
what
like,
I'm thinking of.
"Hey, want to have fun?" Like, like, oh my god,
Sounds like a cartoon character.
this was on The Simpsons at one point.
Right.
Yeah,
But like ultimately, I think cruising is like driving to a destination in order to partake in gay sex. Am I close?
Yes, and I would like to compliment your ability to connect with not only lesbians, but also with the concept of cruising and gay men experience. You're doing a really great job.
well versed.
Yeah.
well versed.
I'm an ally, baby.
You know what? You get to pick a bottle out of the bar cabinet at the end of this.
You're allowed to come to Pride.
Right.
You know what?
Yeah.
And the bathhouse.
Oh, thanks, everybody.
We build your entry ticket as you get things correct. Yeah.
I get more punches on my card.
Yeah.
Valid.
It's accurate. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, cruising is the planning or participating in a sexual encounter without attracting negative attention and being reported to authorities.
That's the actual definition of it?
That's the definition that I found. Okay. I'm sure it's open to interpretation on other platforms.
I mean, no, that makes sense.
I mean, it wasn't like Urban Dictionary. It was like a gay website. Well, there's like...
It was gaydictionary.com.
Well, there are websites with like university and stuff where they have like all of the gay terms. Everything from just being like the phrase coming out, like what that actually means. So cruising, all of that's there.
Yeah.
So cruising. Now, let me ask.
Yeah.
What is cottaging?
I don't even know what this is.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Why would I have a chance then? Okay, cottaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, take a wild guess.
Is it like? I feel like that's too obvious of like meeting up at a motel to have gay sex and not attract any attention. Kind of like along the lines of cruising, where like you're going to a destination of not having anyone have eyes on you while you're doing this. But I feel like cottaging is the destination.
Yeah. You know, for a man that is married to a woman, you know a lot about cruising and cottaging. Have you been studying?
He's done his research for this month.
He was prepared for this.
Yeah,
I was like, oh God, it's talk about an ally.
Yeah.
Okay, you weren't wrong. So cottaging is used to describe public toilet blocks in public areas that resemble cottages. It's very similar to cruising, except it's in the UK.
Oh.
And also, it's illegal because you're doing it in public spaces. Not like if you're outdoors, as long as you're not seen, it's not illegal. If you're indoors in like a bath or like a Home Depot bathroom, I don't know, something random, it's illegal.
Right, yeah. A rest stop bathroom.
Cottaging... Yeah. God, this is awful. So cruising in the US feels very like, yes, it can be outside or inside, right?
Yeah.
But cottaging is the UK's distinction between outside or inside of cruising as the umbrella term as we know it.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
So the research that I have
found
completed.
Correct.
So cruising. So you go from bathhouses, and that is one way back where, and it's carried to modern times where you were meeting gay men. Sure. Then you have the act of cruising, and this was probably a little bit less visible, a little bit more hidden. You're thinking woods, you're thinking outdoor space, you're thinking public bathrooms. It's very one-on-one.
Yeah.
That is how you're meeting people. It's potentially dangerous, very risky, but at one point it's really all you have because we don't have the internet. We don't have friends and family like setting us up with their gay neighbor. Like it just wasn't as common. You weren't having an arranged marriage. Like it just, you had to cruise.
Yeah.
So the first recorded raid of a gay meeting place was in 1810. So we were starting strong way back then. And it was at, I'm going to butcher this too, the Very Straight Coterie? Sure. Where a group of men were arrested at Molly House, a place for homosexual men to meet. Get this. 2 of them weren't even there, and they were hanged because they were associated.
What? Oh. Where was this at?
Great question. I know the answer by heart. It is London.
Got it.
I didn't just look it up with you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So London, 1810.
Yep. That's the one. Oh yeah, that part I knew. So yeah, it happened then. So again, you're starting to see this other form of connecting with men happening, but it's still just as dangerous and just as risky. And the stigma is still there. You're probably getting away with it because no one's like geotagging you, but it's a little rough.
Yeah.
But over the years, even down to modern time, we still have that going on. There are still cruising spots where people meet other men. They are either likely just looking for a good old time, or maybe they're not out and they're not on dating apps because they can't be. They're not going to gay bars because they can't be.
Yeah, like the Forest Preserve near my house.
Yes.
All right.
Did that have a name?
Yeah, I'll say it off air. So I don't want to rat those people out. So, I ain't no snitch.
So
there's a raid of the woods.
So there was this internal dilemma I was having because I want to talk about 2 of the places that are common, but I don't want to like get my gay card revoked.
I can bleep them out if you want.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There were articles on this, so like maybe don't, but like
I'll bleep them.
Yeah. So have you heard of the Dick in P-Town?
No.
I like the name though.
Yeah. So the Dick in P-Town, which is a very gay-friendly area, especially during the summer and Pride and 4th of July, super, super gay. Dick it is a very famous cruising spot. There is also the in Fire Island, which, not the fun fact I was going to share, but a fun fact of my own, I walked through. Not necessarily on purpose, but I was in Fire Island, and it was dark, and we were trying to get home from one part of the island to the other, and the only way to do that was water taxi or walk, and we were like, it's nice out, the sun's up. Well, not the sun, the moon, and the stars, and
That
we were
night
like,
sun's up.
Do you know how often I confuse the sun with the moon? Crazy.
it's all fake. It's not
all
real.
a simulation.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, so it was bright. I couldn't see. So we were walking through, and there were a lot of bugs, but it was kind of scary.
Yeah.
It was so dark. Well, other than
the night sun.
the night sun.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely risky and a little creepy, and also like kind of fun. But
Yeah, well,
keep
I mean,
powering
like,
through.
you're meeting up in these fields, these forest reserves, at least in what this conversation we're having, and it's just like, that's not, there's obviously, like, no cameras, no lights, like, it's meant to be this secret spot where you can do your business and get away with it, it's just like, well, that's spooky. That's a spooky place.
But I think you're spot on in the sense of like it started as kind of like a necessity, right? Like it started as like we are gay men that we need to express ourselves in some way and
For
like
sure.
find this connection, and this is how we can do it, and only in secrecy or I'm getting hanged, right? So that's one aspect that still continues through today, right? There are still I'll say a minority, I think at this point, that like still can't be kind of out, and so continues that sort of thing. The other aspect, though, that it's now become this like duality is it's become kind of like a kink, right? Like it's become like it's taboo and we might get caught and it's risky, and I like that because there's danger aspect and there's like an adrenaline rush, and so people have kind of turned cruising and cottaging and all of these things into this like, oh, it's risky and fun, so I can get caught in it.
Yeah, it gets your rocks off.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's not necessarily illegal anymore unless you're doing it in like
Like a public place.
yeah. But these areas, it's still fair game, and
Right.
people are going to go after it. And again, what else were you supposed to do at the time?
Exactly.
It's like gay men just came together, word of mouth, and other mouth stuff, and just created this sense of community across the damn globe when we didn't even have internet. Like
Right.
these things were happening
Right.
in every country, and you just didn't know about it. But somehow, gay men were finding a way to do it.
Yeah.
But honestly, like as I'm reading about this and talking about it, it's not that much different. Like I was thinking about this earlier, and what I said to you guys when you were first framing this up. I always get nervous about talking about some of these inner workings of gay men, like cruising, bathhouses. Like you're kind of giving away details of something that makes us it's very private because it's what
yeah.
we have, and there's a lot of stigma around it. But then you look around and you're like, wait, straight people have this shit too. You got Girls Gone Wild, that's spring break, wet t-shirt contest, college campuses just having orgies. I don't know, not from experience, but like it's just
No, there were so many.
these things always happen, but it's different when it's gay men, and you just see us doing it like behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, well, because when it's gay men, it's not okay.
Yeah,
like you
right.
know, it's like that. All the straight people can have sex wherever they want, whenever they want.
Right.
I mean, like you go down to New Orleans during Mardi Gras, and like you know, there's tits everywhere. Granted, like you can get in trouble for that, but like
But
no,
I feel like it's
it's
just
more like
like
a
a-
slap on the wrist.
not
Right.
even. It's
Yeah.
like a
ma'am, please. And then you turn
Love
around
it.
and you're like, but let me see really quick.
Like some
we
deeds.
were doing
Right.
it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I don't really have the boobs for it, but like if I were to do it, I'd probably get yelled at. It's not maybe
Right.
one day.
I think it's interesting because there's an aspect of which, like, as I think as a gay culture, like we want to keep it to ourselves, right? I think for so many years we've had to keep it a secret, and now that we've become this, for lack of better terms, more mainstream and there's been more equality in it. There's been an aspect of which we feel the notion to share the culture and the history with others, right? Because in that you feel I'm not stigmatized and I'm not stereotyped, and so I should be able to share my history and share all these things that have happened, right? And on the other side of that, we're like, well, I want to keep this close to my chest because this is who make us who we are. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to know our history and culture and things of that nature, because once that becomes too popularized, like, does it kind of saturate the meaning of what it is, right? And so I think that's the interesting play now. I think eventually we get to a point where everything is just history and kind of tossed up together. But I think in the moment, I totally get where it's like, I don't want to say it because I don't want to like divulge all these things, and at the same time, like the only way we move forward is kind of expressing who we are.
And we also only know about it because people are finally talking about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So again, it goes
Correct.
back to the question of, well, back in my day, I didn't see all of this, and it was still happening, and now we have platforms to discuss it and talk about this history, and I was able to Google gay history facts and start an entire conversation based off of it.
Right.
Because it's out there.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's also important. And we were just talking about this book, The Velvet Rage, and it's been a while since I read it, but there is the idea of the second adolescence. And going into growing up, and I'll talk about this in a few minutes, but growing up, I didn't know what was available to gay men.
Yeah.
Because I was fortunate enough that I was in like a liberal enough area where I knew gay people, and I knew that you could date and be gay, but I knew it was a little more difficult. You had some online platforms, but I didn't know that this has been happening forever. I didn't know that there were people cruising in your hometown. Like, maybe I would have went. I don't know. But it's just, I'm only learning about it because it's there, and I just think it's so important to keep spreading that information.
100%.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. No,
So-
absolutely.
You brought this up before. You said codes and like gestures and things like that. There are some fun ones, but like, what do you think is a code? If you were cruising the local spot in your neighborhood, like, what do you think people are doing to be like, hey?
My mom actually told me one. Which is really funny.
This is like the fourth time I've been like, get Gail on the phone.
Phone a friend, we got
On air. Yeah. Mom, you're on speaker and on the pod.
Gail is a wise woman, and there was one time, I don't know how I know this, why she told me this, but she told me that like back in her day, the gay community would have handkerchiefs hanging out of their back pocket, and depending on the color, that would signal what you're into.
Yeah.
And that's the one code of like a modern era, I would say, that I know.
That does still occur. Maybe not so much to like find a gay man. I'm speaking to my own experience, but not to find a gay man out in public. But like the whole flag color, like that's still a thing for people, especially when it's maybe a little more like kink oriented.
Yeah.
You have that going on. But from what we've known so far, like some of the ways to do it, like if you were cruising the local hotspot, you're just doing like a head nod, I don't know, like a crotch grab, just subtle.
A foot tap.
Finger guns.
Yeah,
A whistle.
Finger guns. That would definitely get them. Just a nice, sexy pair of finger guns. Woo! I mean, I'm hot and bothered thinking about those finger guns, you know?
Same.
But
Was it last episode that you were like, yes, the gayest way to say goodbye, finger guns.
Yeah, say hey, say hello, finger guns.
Right.
I mean, it would work.
I like that. That's the gayest way you know how to say goodbye. Incredible.
Okay, so here are a couple little things to just know. So, over the last few decades, so wearing a green carnation on your lapel was a way of saying you're gay, or you just liked green carnations. So, conflicting.
Shit.
Ooh, what
There
You like green
was-
carnations.
What was the other? Nope, just said that. Asking a guy if he was musical, which kind of seems wrong now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like, why can't straight men like musicals? I mean, I know why, but
because of this reason.
because of this reason. And then this one is rooted in gay history and culture, and there's a lot of value to it. But the friend of Dorothy, have you heard that one?
Are you a friend of Dorothy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was such a strong way for gay men to hint and figure out if somebody else was gay safely, until obviously it became super known. Then maybe it was a little more risky, but at first the idea of that was crucial. Do you know the history behind it?
I don't remember in this moment, but I've heard this story, and it is so familiar to me, and I'm kicking myself for not remembering it. I would love a reminder if you can.
So I have a one sentence reminder, and it's, well, not even one sentence, just like a noun. Judy Garland.
Yeah, did it have something to do with her like slippers? Like people like, was that also like a symbol along with this, or was it just followed. Was it? No, something about a rainbow. I don't know. I'm talking on my ass at this point.
I mean, I love where you're going with it. All of it seems very. You could be telling me this, and I believe you now.
I think you're bringing a lot of like meaning into the term, but I think also the term itself started with the fact that Judy Garland was such a friend and supporter of gay men that it just kind of became like I'm not going to say like, are you friends with Judy Garland? Like it kind of became like a Dorothy over the rainbow sort of aspect.
Right. Accepting everyone that's different, no matter what they are. You think about all the characters, things like that.
Right,
sure.
She became a gay icon and people knew that.
Yeah.
That's all right. Thank you.
You were so close.
No, it was rattling around my brain and I couldn't get it out.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up cruising and cottaging, which I know you're very familiar with. Mm-hmm. But one fun fact: small like indie artist George Michael. Do you know him?
Small indie artist, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Might have heard
definitely
like one or two of the songs.
He is actually like the face of cruising. That
wasn't he caught and arrested for that?
He was.
Yes,
so it inspired.
Yes.
He was arrested in Beverly Hills at a hotel because he was engaging in a lewd act in the bathroom. But it inspired his disco pop banger, Outside. Have I heard of it? No. But do I know that it was popular? Yes.
You've never heard Outside?
I mean, I probably have, but again, small indie artist. Who knows him? I don't know.
Small indie artist.
I'm just not familiar.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now you're very familiar with bathhouses, cruising.
Yeah.
What comes next?
World's my oyster at this point.
Truly. We are
only in secret.
We're going to discuss about modern times dating, which kind of overlaps with what straight people do on like apps and stuff, but like we had to do it a little differently based on our history. So right when the internet started to become a thing, and I'm talking about like very early on, there was a CEO named Andy Kramer. He founded gay.net. That sounds like it was made in like the 1400s as well.
Yeah.
It was one of the first online bulletin board systems that offered local or regional dial-up networks. You had to get a diskette, whatever that is, mailed to you well, I mean, like, I know what it is, but like...
I was like, Devin absolutely wants to tell you what a diskette is right now.
You know what? Please.
No, it's all right.
I feel like there's a variety of people that need to know what it was.
Not everyone knows what a diskette is.
I'll do a mini episode about it. It's fine. We'll talk about diskettes later.
Oh my God. All right. Okay. So you had to get diskettes mailed... Yes. Diskettes mailed to you to download and upload the software and join the bulletin.
That's crazy.
Way back then. So you went from cruising and all of that stuff to now you finally have a bulletin board of people you can connect with.
That's awesome.
In a bigger way. It was so popular that in the first year, 10,000 gay men and bisexual men paid $10 a month to access this.
$10 a month?
$10 a month at that time?
10,000 people.
That's insane.
But what are you supposed to do when you don't have a network?
Sure. Absolutely worth it. But like, fuck, that's expensive.
So you had gay.net. Then I had no idea this was gay, but OkCupid. Did you know?
I knew that it offered gay, but I thought it was both straight and gay.
So it was leaning queer, and then it kind of just opened up to everyone. Because again, during these modern times, these dating apps just started to blow up. There's actually like a trend where a ton of them in early 2000s just kind of just went bubble popped, and all of them were there. Yeah. So you had OkCupid, which again, I had no idea, but to what we were saying before, if you can't go to a bar, you need a platform. So now these are the ones that are starting to brew and become more popular.
Yeah.
Then in the early 2000s, you see this influx of everything else, which is like Christian mingle, dudes nude. No idea what that is. Sounds fun.
It sounds like it's some nude dudes.
So maybe it's a little more self-explanatory than I realized.
Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know what this picturesofcutepuppies.com is about, but
you know what? Now I hear it. Now I hear it, and I understand. Neat. But so you see all these things happening, and at the same time, you know Craigslist.
Yeah.
You know the personals section, men for men, men seeking men. It did, because there was the dangerous aspect, which again we see everywhere, but there's like the sex trafficking and so on. But when you have to do this in secret, that's how you're finding it. Missed connections. You were trying to find men there.
Yeah.
So I was reading some online stories about people putting themselves in rather risky scenarios, but ultimately and potentially meeting people they fell in love with, dated, became friends with. So there was a kind of a risk reward aspect to it.
Yeah.
But these Craigslist ads, these personal connections, these bulletin boards, all kind of weave together what would then become Grindr.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, like, how do you feel about Grindr? What do you know about Grindr?
Well, not as much as I did about the other topics.
Yes, you knew more about cruising and bathhouses than Grindr. That's fine. That's fair.
No, it's just like the gay Tinder, essentially. It's just for gay men. I don't know if any other sexuality is popular or allowed on there, but I haven't had a profile on there. But no.
Well, surprise, we're about to make one. We're going to play a game.
Perfect. No, I believe it's just like a dating app just for men, and I believe gay men, and I believe, or curious men, and I believe there are certain settings on there for like what you're into, what you're looking for. Yeah. I don't know.
That was a nice summary.
Yeah,
all right.
That's good.
Look at me go.
I get when people say like it's the equivalent to Tinder. Like I understand that people want to make that connection.
It's the same.
I just feel like no, but I think that's colloquially like how it's kind of referred to.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just so much more intense because like Tinder in and of itself is like let's date and let's like get to know each other and things like that. Like Grindr isn't necessarily like yes, let me just like chat with people. Like I think you can find that on there.
Hookups?
I think it's how it started.
I think Grindr, in my opinion, was cruising, bathhouses brought to tech. Because now on Grindr, you can open up your profile and see a dick 3 feet away. Because it tells you you're 0 feet away.
Truly.
When the call's coming from inside the house, run.
It's horrifying.
That is so scary. It's like, oh, you're 0 feet away, and you're like, God? Like, are you in here with me?
Ooh, right, exactly.
It's just this guy walks up and, hey, I noticed you didn't open your Grindr notification.
Oh, there are horror stories to share about that.
Oh, no.
Well, like, imagine being in your home, and you're like, you know what? I'm feeling it. Let me just, like, go to Grindr. So I go to Grindr, and I click on, like, oh, first profile. I've never seen this person before. And it says 0 feet away. Terrifying.
And you're just looking across the room, like, at the person sitting on your couch at your party, and like, oh, okay.
Or then you, like, look at your husband, and you're like, get off Grindr. We said we were going to do this anymore.
Not now. I blocked you for a reason.
You have my phone number.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. So Grindr kind of makes things weird, but there is a need for it. It's not necessarily for straight people, because it's not, but anyone that identifies within, I would say, the LGBTQ plus community has a place on there.
Oh, great.
Other people have a variety of opinions on that, whether they feel welcome, whether or not. There's also like stigma, stereotypes, all that kind of falls in. There's some problematic elements of Grindr, but there's a value there. And it was one of the first that took all of the cruising and bathhouses and literally made it like geolocation.
Yeah.
So now you can go on there and find people right near you. It's probably safer because you can link up to social media. You can verify there's ways. You can segment people out based on sexual preference, like top, bottom, verse. You can segment them out based on categories, which I do have a quick quiz for you. Like twink, otter, all that stuff. Okay. So it just kind of revolutionized this idea of not only gay sex, but gay dating. Because I have never had Grindr, but I may or may not have met one of my closest friends on Grindr. There was nothing ever sexual. There was never a date. We just like, hey, I'm just about to come out. I need friends. And we hung out. And it was great. And 10 years later, we're friends. Yeah. So there is other value there, but it was kind of took off because other apps started to replicate it. And now there's a million different apps that you can hop on for this. But Grindr just kind of set the stage for that next level of gay dating and gay sex life and all that fun stuff.
I think when you said putting it as taking the bathhouses, the cruising, etc., and bringing it to the 21st century and having it into integrating all of that culture into one spot with technology, I think that's a great summary of what Grindr is and where I'm not speaking from personal experience, but like where like the future of dating within the gay community is going.
It's when we look at everything that we've just talked about, it just starts to put into perspective how much closer. There's still a lot of work that has to be done just in terms of stigma around being gay, but how much closer being gay, at least in the United States, is to being straight in terms of opportunity to find love, to find connection, to find community. All the things we used to have to do in secret, you can now do a little bit easier and be yourself and find your own community a little bit easier. I mean, being able to go to your hometown and open up Grindr and you see somebody like 4 miles away that you went to high school with, you're like, well, this is what I got. But it points out those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is all I have.
Yeah. Well, at least in like that, in that scenario, you're like, oh, I wasn't alone when I was going through all those emotions. Unfortunately, I had to feel alone, but I'm no longer.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that I think that because if you think about it, a lot of times people are like, oh, why weren't there gay people like when I was growing up? And now all of a sudden there's like 1 million gay people and da-da-da-da. And it's like, well, you had an entire epidemic where like half of our like an entire generation was basically killed off, right? So you're kind of through these things like building still rapidly, right? Like kind of this equality of tech and, you know, culture and dating and all those things. But I think that we're trying to build up to what we know. And we've gotten pretty close, I would say. But there's still aspects of like we're checking and adjusting because we are kind of building a whole new thing on our own shoulders. You know what I mean?
So a whole.
Okay.
Trying
to say something fucking nice on this podcast.
Well, okay, wait. Before we wrap that up. You said whole. Say crack again.
Yeah, exactly.
Quick vocabulary. Just because like I need to gauge what you know.
Sure.
What is a twink?
A twink. That is a smaller framed gay person who I believe.
Why's it gotta be gay?
That's a good question.
Very
I don't
offensive.
know. I guess.
Keep going. It is a gay man. Keep going.
In my experience, I've only heard the term twink in context of a gay man. So there we go.
Devin has like one bead of sweat, like slowly.
I'm gonna get canceled.
On top of all my normal sweat, there's just like the worry sweat. So a smaller framed gay man who's probably more usually a bottom, but like that's just
interesting.
But I feel like that's just me thinking of it as like a size thing.
So you're just pigeonholing twinks into one role?
Yeah, from my experience.
You have experience.
Which is zero.
It is zero.
I was like, let's just see where this unravels.
I feel like you're bringing forward the stereotype.
Yeah.
And by stereotype, I do mean the majority of, yes.
Yeah, I think that's just what I normally would see in like posts and stories and
yeah.
Okay.
And a big factor of being a twink is that they have a slim average build, a youthful appearance, and little to no body hair.
Oh.
Yeah. Like Brian was a twink.
And now he has a mustache.
Now he has a mustache.
Well, now he's retired.
Because you don't really like turn into anything as a twink. It's just like you're a twink and then you're old.
You don't digivolve into something different.
Yeah, no.
You could evolve into a dolphin.
Oh, that's
a dolphin.
What's a dolphin?
What is a dolphin?
I'm assuming still hairless.
You're onto something.
Yep. Constantly covered in oil.
Taking people to your underwater
in a single blowhole.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know dolphin. That's one I've never heard, actually.
It is a slender, athletic, hairless bear.
What?
Right. I don't really understand it. I've never seen one necessarily out in the wild, but I
have you
like
heard this term before, though?
No. Again,
Same.
I just did a lot of weird research.
So this is some nonsense, some straight person pulled up.
Hey,
don't be offensive. These are identifying.
Okay,
words.
but also like,
Be an
you know
ally.
that I'm right in the sense of someone was like, I heard this once, and so now I'm going to put it in my study.
It just falls in the same category. I think again, there are so many different terms and names
Sure.
that you can fall into. This is just one of them. Maybe
Regional
not-
dialects.
Maybe this podcast is bringing it to life.
Okay, we are the fans of dolphins.
Yes, and a couple more.
Are we though?
What is an otter?
An otter isn't as, it's almost like these terms are like shirt sizes, like small, medium, large, XL, and so forth. So like an otter isn't as big as a bear, but not as slender as a twink.
I would say close.
And but an otter has some hair, but not as furry as a bear.
You have just completed your gay bingo card.
Thank
That
you.
was amazing.
There
However,
you
I do have
go.
another
There you go.
one. Just one more. What is a fruit fly?
What the fuck?
A bartender's worst enemy. A fruit fly. I don't know. That one I've never heard.
This is also not a
It's
popular
on.
term.
Yeah, it's on the
No,
same.
well, there's another one, but it's like a little more aggressive. It's also called the fag hag.
A fag hag.
That one I won't
I've
repeat.
never heard that they were called fruit flies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a woman who associates mostly or exclusively with gay or bisexual men.
Oh, like this is my gay best friend Charlie,
And then
I
here are the
love
other
Charlie.
8 of them
Yeah,
that I hang
and
out
I
with
have, like,
24/7.
Yeah.
I guess the final term is demon twink, which
Yes.
kind of wraps this up.
Do you know?
Demon twink. All right, so we've established what a twink is. Now let's take this good versus evil. No, I have no idea what a demon twink would be. I just think like a feral twink on the town, just trying to get it in.
You're not wrong.
It's not wrong.
You're right.
So a demon twink is basically just a twink that's also a Britney Spears fan.
Leave Brittany alone.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, okay, so there's a DJ. His name is Ty Sutherland. He's incredible. But he had a tweet that kind of went viral, and his tweet was, there was a demon twink on a Britney boat last night. Threw a drink at the DJ equipment, wouldn't get off the stage unless I stopped the music. Then the party ended, and he's somehow in VIP getting his ass ate, like out in the open. We had to literally tell him to stop and go home.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
twink, but a Britney fan.
But I think you are spot on though. It's like a feral,
feral
twink.
twink.
Yeah,
With those, like,
exactly.
Mean eyes.
They can be like very intense for no reason.
Yeah,
like a lot of like
just
entitlement.
Yeah.
I feel like a demon twink is just out there, just like wanting and needing to engage in sexual actions. This is how I think. Shut up, Vinny.
Correct.
Yeah. We'll make a give of that. It's fine. And to engage in sexual actions, otherwise they'll like lose their power or something like that. Like
Yeah.
it's like the witches from Hocus Pocus, where like they need to get the life essence of a virgin, otherwise they'll like get old and wither away.
That's fair.
And
That's-
that is a demon twink.
That is
Yes.
the evolution of twink. That's your next phase. You're so
Becoming a
desperate
witch
to
from
stay
Hocus
young.
Pocus. Yeah,
That or a demon twink. But one and the same.
exactly.
kind of just like circle around. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
So I think we've walked through a lot of gay history.
Yeah.
Got it.
I feel like as much as I want to end on Demon Twink, we cannot end on Demon Twink.
Okay, well, that's your decision. I think we can, but I guess my final question to you guys would, and to wrap this up, it's not my podcast, but I will do this.
Please.
What is a key takeaway from this conversation, one as a gay man and one as a straight man, that kind of just buttons this up?
Key takeaway.
You want to go first? You want me to go?
You can go first.
Okay.
He's just going to copy your answer.
Yeah, probably.
No, I think it's I think just like anything that we bring to the table, a lot of it is just like the importance of history and understanding kind of culturally other people in the world. And I think that a lot of times you can understand stereotypes more, you can understand where people might be more conservative and inclusive because of certain aspects that their people have gone through in the world, right? And so I think that for us as a gay community, we are making more traction and more equality as we go on. Now we're not exactly where we need to be, but I think that conversations like this, however historical and ridiculous as they might be, are very, very important. And I think that a lot of times giving people this in a very digestible kind of tangible way of like, this is history, but it's also funny to like make sure that you can kind of take that on and be approachable is kind of the way that we get that into the world. So that's kind of my takeaway from it.
Yeah.
Ditto.
You son of a bitch.
Just take what he said, put it in ChatGPT, switch around the sentence structure.
Exactly.
Can you make this more straight?
No, I think my key takeaway, it's obviously going to be along the same veins because this was a very important conversation to have. I think one big thing that I learned is that bathhouses are still around.
There's one down the street.
That's crazy.
Truly.
Field trip.
Field trip.
And like, yeah. And like reiterating of the, well, back in my day, like this wasn't around. It was like, well, you didn't know about it. I didn't know about bathhouses down the street. So like, it's interesting to see that is still happening, even though this culture is able to be have a light on it a lot more openly. And like, I don't know, like we've partied down in Boys Town several times. Sometimes I don't remember partying in Boys Town, and usually, and just to be able to experience and be a part of the community is something that I feel like. I don't know, those people back in the 1400s are pretty jealous of.
Yeah.
Suck it.
Literally? Pre-toothpaste.
The last thing I'll say is that I think that we kind of talked about the aspect of some of this might be false, right? Or like kind of the oral tradition. And like, I just want people to understand that, you know, go out and talk to people in other communities because that's how you learn about them. Like, unfortunately, history is written by the winner, right? Mm-hmm. So like a lot of aspects of our culture, other minority groups aren't written down or easily accessible because they couldn't be, or they were lost, or they were destroyed, or whatever that might be. And so however kind of funny and jovial we made this topic, like go out and like have those conversations so you can learn about other cultures that might have been passed down orally instead of written.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome.
I mean, I said plenty, but yeah, you guys wrapped it up well.
I thought you were going to make an orally joke, so that's why I was just like waiting for that.
I was thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But, well, Vinny, thank you so much for bringing this all to our show, telling me everything that I didn't know.
And everything you apparently did.
Right. I'm well read.
Yeah.
And really appreciate you coming onto the podcast and teaching us all this great, fun stuff. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. For those of you watching, we are in a different location. So instead of the studio, we've decided to take the podcast to where our host is. So what do you call it? If that looks different for you, if you're watching, just a little call out. But thank you again, Vinny. Very much appreciate you coming on. Happy Pride Month, everyone. Please follow us at WDYK_podcast if you do not already. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things to engage. And we'll catch you next week.
Cheers.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Happy Pride.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.